Okay,
It's
great.
so nice to see you.
And you. Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure to be able to talk to you about pilgrimage in general and about your new book, which we're going to delve into a bit here. I'm hoping that you brought a pilgrimage artifact.
I did.
I would love to hear about it. So part of this focus on a psychological perspective on pilgrimage is focusing on the stories and the narratives that people share about their pilgrimages. And so it would be really lovely to hear about the artifact that you brought to share with us and the story about it.
Okay. Well, interestingly, this isn't one that's mentioned more than a little bit in my book, but this is a souvenir cup for St. Winifred's Well, which is the major pilgrimage site in North Wales and the oldest continually visited pilgrimage site in Britain. And you can see on the front of the cup, if I hold it up a little bit, that this is the well building with a cross in front, and that there's a pool where pilgrims would bathe in front of that, or they go inside down some steps. And the reason I find this one so interesting is I've been to St. Winifred Well a lot of times. There is a modern gift shop there where you can buy rosaries and statues and postcards. But in the 19th century, this site was known as the Lords of Wales, or in English newspapers, the Lords of England, even though it's in Wales. And it underwent this massive period of commercialisation. And it really made the town grow. It brought thousands of people to this tiny Welsh town. Really, it's about the fact that although now we think of pilgrimage, or lots of people think of pilgrimage as a spiritual journey, a time to take time out, in the 19th century, when this pilgrimage was really being revived, it was, a religious event. People went there for healing, but there was also a real element of tourism to it, and people wanted souvenirs like this. They also obviously got little bottles of water like this. I've got lots of those. And so it shows that commercialization and pilgrimage, they sat side by side for the people who went on pilgrimage, even though some people were quite critical, particularly because this was a Catholic pilgrimage site in a non-Catholic country. So people like to criticize things about it, like commercialization. The shrine custodian at the time, a man called Friar Beauclerc, he was described as the Barnum of Holywell after the theatre impresario T.P. Barnum, because he put on a good show and people thought it was all a bit much. But yes, so while we think of it as calm and spiritual, it definitely wasn't when they were promoting it like that.
It is an interesting idea, this commercialization that happens alongside pilgrimages. And I suspect that we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes regarding the way that you've addressed this in your book. I'm curious about when people were visiting this well, what were they seeking? What were they motivated by? What were the pilgrims sort of making a trek there to do?
Yeah, overwhelmingly, they were going for healing. There's a fabulous miracle record that starts in the 12th century and goes up pretty much to the present day, where people are going for healing for all kinds of largely physical things, tuberculosis, poor sight, really unspecified illnesses in the terms of the language. So fitting, possession by witches, things like that. That's the main reason to go. But there are other reasons as well. So after the Reformation in the 16th century in this country, Catholics, of course, are not supposed to be going on pilgrimage. It's supposed to be banned, but they do. They go in their thousands, and they do it as a political statement or as a statement of solidarity amongst their community. And you also get people going because it's a community activity and it's a day out. You get some pilgrims who turn up not really intending to be pilgrims, and they write accounts saying, I didn't believe in this stuff, but I went along because it's a pretty building. And the next thing you know, I found myself bathing and I've been cured. And so some people convert and some look for other explanations. So yeah, overwhelmingly for healing, but because there are thousands and thousands of accounts and records, this covers quite a myriad of things.
Were these healings verified by outside sources, or are we relying solely on pilgrims' accounts of their healing?
Well, it's pretty much all pilgrim accounts. So the medieval things and the early modern, you wouldn't expect there to be any sort of attempt to verify because people believed as is. When you get to the 19th century, when they start to report them, particularly this is the last decade of the 19th century, they're reporting these miracle cures in the press, particularly internationally, American papers, British papers, even New Zealand, Australia. Obviously, they sensationalize them because that's what the press wants to do. And so the church as an institution, the Catholics who are in charge of the well are more circumspect. They say, we haven't investigated these. We're going to just call them cures because they're not miracles because nobody has actually verified them. And what people would do is they would write into the shrine and say, I've been cured of this, and here's a letter from my doctor to say he saw me 6 months ago and I was ill and now I'm not. And so there was quite a lot of that. And there was quite a bit of debate in the medical community. And in the 1890s, somebody suggested actually that they should keep a record of all the cures, so that they should set up something like the Lord's Medical Bureau. And that rumbled on until about the 90s. And the Shrine Archive even has a questionnaire that you could give to pilgrims to see what was wrong with them, how they were cured, and what evidence they've got. But it never took off. So, no, never verified, never investigated. And it's probably a bit late now.
It's a site sort of growing again as there's this growing interest in pilgrimages, particularly in England and Wales and Ireland. Do you see that people are flocking back to the well?
People certainly are more aware of it because it comes early on in the North Wales Pilgrim Way, which starts just down the road from the well, goes along the North Wales coast all the way to the island of Bardsey. But not a great deal is made of the site itself. As you know, it's not the destination and it's not the start point either, but people are more aware of it. They tend to come on large annual organised pilgrimages, and the Bishop of the Diocese is very interested in promoting them. So yeah, there's definitely an uptick, but it still doesn't quite have the status of some of the ones that have Caminoized themselves and sold themselves as historic walking pilgrimages, because this one, as far as I can tell, wasn't.
And what about the water that's coming from the well? Is this sold? Are people still seeking to fill bottles with it and take it away, or has that practice subsided?
No, that practice is still very much going. So you can buy these little plastic bottles, just like the type you get in any shrine. And inside the well, there is a pump handle, and you can fill them up and take as much away as you want. It does say, please don't take from the well itself because it's been chlorinated, because people enter the well. What's interesting is that in 1917, mining in the area meant the well's water supply suddenly collapsed overnight. This is in January 1917. And until September of that year, the well was completely dry, and everyone was worried what this would mean for the town, for pilgrims. And it was sorted out when the council reinstated a water supply coming from a different source. So there was then debate about whether or not it is the same water and whether or not it can still heal and whether or not it's still holy. It doesn't seem to have put most people off, but you do occasionally get comments like, but this is council water, or this is chlorinated water. Surely it's not holy. But you can tell by the sheer number of bottles they sell in the shop that people must still take it away in large quantities.
Do people ingest it or apply it topically on the body, or is it just merely meant to be kept as a souvenir?
It's a bit of everything. Really what they want to do is bathe in the water, which is freezing cold, and they perform certain activities in the exterior pool. When they take it away, or when they order it by mail, which was really popular at the end of the 19th century, it tends to be that they're drinking or bathing with it. That's far more common. There used to be, before the water dried up and then before it was chlorinated, there were also stones covered in red marks that people could take out of the well. It was a kind of moss growing on them. And moss itself that was known as St. Winifred's hair. And people used to collect that and apply it to things like poultices, or put the stones in their mouths to cure things. That would work. It's very much about touching the water and the natural relics, I suppose.